Hi everyone, Lisa Haven here, and I've got an amazing event lined up for you in this report. But a while back, about a month ago, David Heavener, the movie producer, actor, director, who is directing The Last Evangelist, which I'm actually playing a character, a pretty cool one, or interesting one. But anyway, he did an interview with me. What you're about to see is raw footage of that interview. We get everything, talk about everything from China, persecution, mark of the beast. You guys are going to love it, but you want to hang 10 for it and support The Last Evangelist as well. It's not getting funded by Hollywood. Hallelujah to that. So make sure you go to links below and help support that as well. Here's that interview.
Hello everybody, David Heavener here, and I have a very, very special person that I was with a couple of months ago, Lisa Haven. Hey Lisa.
Hi.
Good to be with you.
Glad to be back.
You guys know Lisa from the last video. All right, so, you know, we're making The Last Evangelist, okay? It's a movie about the end times, about Mark of the Beast, cashless society, Antichrist. Well, Lisa is an expert in alternative media, right?
Yes.
What? Give them the name of your show.
I have a YouTube channel, Lisa Haven. So if you just Google that name, I'll shoot right up there. But
that's right.
Share news, prophecy, all of that.
Absolutely, and she's really very, very informative and very, very good. And how I found her is I think I was typing in my name, Heavener, and I misspelled it and I went to Haven. So
Havener.
Lisa Havener. So here's what I want to talk about, because in The Last Evangelist, which is a very serious series that deals with serious topics, okay, even though it's action, we talk about the registered church, okay? My character, John Rhodes, is an FBI agent, a law enforcement agent that persecutes unregistered churches. If you're not registered with the government, that means you're unregistered. That means you're not conforming. So I go in and I arrest the churches, and then I find evidence that will lead me to someone else that's having an unregistered church. Now, in other words, you have churches that are the religious system, and they're tied into what the government would consider good, the 501c3 and all that kind of stuff. And then you have the underground churches, which are not really legal according to the system, and they can't really monitor it. My question to you is, can this really happen?
Absolutely. My answer is it's already happening. Like if we look internationally, say we go to China. In China, the government there has a system where they have churches that are registered with the government. That's what they are. And other churches that refuse to register with the government. Now, why would they refuse? Well, it's simple, because the government puts rules and regulations on the churches in China and basically says the government is the head, not God. And some churches and pastors say, we're not going to put the government above God. We're going to put God above all of it. And so you have this divisive nature in China. So that's why when you hear Bibles are few and far between or not allowed in China, that's where that is. And there are Bibles allowed in the church, you know, certain Bibles, but you can't distribute them. You can't give them out there. So if you're an evangelist or a missionary in China, you know, you've really got to do that under the radar, because you can get in a lot of trouble in China. And so these churches have gone underground to distribute Bibles outside the church. The registered church, and they're being persecuted for it. They're meeting their deaths, and many people are harassed. And I think that very same thing can happen here in America. It's not just one area. I think it could go global. Okay,
why would it happen here in America? If we're the land of the free, who would want the church? And again, this is all in the TV series, so it's not that I know the answer to this, because when you write something that, well, it's happening, but you're writing something that could happen or is going to happen, sometimes you have to take a little bit of license. So I'm asking you, your opinion, why would this happen in the land of the free, United States of America? Why would we go all the way, go back to where China's at? I mean, how could we end up like that?
Good question.
And why?
Well, I think some of it is, again, already happening in a minor scale here. We have what's called a 501c3. Okay. And so a lot of churches have this political stance where, or non-political, I will say, where they're not allowed to talk about certain topics, abortion, homosexuality, anything with politics. They can't back a Christian candidate, and nor can they speak for or against anything of that nature, which means they're telling churches, you can't talk about abortion at all. You can't talk about homosexuality, pro, against, doesn't matter what you're for. You can't talk about it because it's a political angle. Therefore, the churches have signed their warrant, if you will, saying, okay, we're not going to talk about certain political things, so we can continue to earn a charity and be on that charity level. And so we already see a hint of it. While it's not at the level of China, we see similar veins here in America.
It's starting to leak in. You see the dam breaking, right? A little bit of it happening. All it takes is a little bit, and then it grows and grows and grows. But how many churches here in America really are awake that see what this is going? You know, I see all the Six Flags Over Jesus churches and most churches, and they go in and they make donations under that 501c3. Which in and of itself wouldn't be such a bad thing, because you do get a tax break and all that. And I don't want to get into all that right now, but what I'm saying is it's like a gun. You know, it could be used for the good or bad. It's a way that for the powers to be to say, if you're going to fall under this 501c3, then here is the rules you must abide by, right?
Right.
And that was created, correct me if I'm wrong, by like Lyndon Johnson or something?
Yeah, by just adding a little bit of verbiage, because it wasn't in there prior, and some little verbiage, and I can't remember off the top of my head the exact verbiage, but it was added in, and it completely just changed things for the church. So that's one direction, but the other thing that we can't ignore is the fact that Christian persecution is rising, not just globally, but here in America.
Good.
And so we have, on a scale, you know, a wide scale, we have Christianity is the most persecuted group in this century. That's the statistic. I've done quite a few videos on it on my channel. So, and that includes here.
Wow. So persecuted more than the Muslims, more than Hindus, more than, I mean, the most persecuted group
in this century, as a whole, as the whole world together.
Wow.
But yes, and that is going completely ignored. What do they focus on? More on, you know, other religions being harassed, but you don't hear it about the Christian religion. That's right. But it's increasing, and so are political aspects of it. Like, can I give one example?
Yeah.
One example is David Barak. He's the Media Matters giant. And he put out a document, and people can Google it, get it off my channel, but just Google David Barak Media Matters document. Usually it comes up with that, but I'm blanking on the name. But on this document, he specifically targeted conservatives. And he said, okay, if he's paying people to go debunk some of the conservative views and attack them on social media, attack them on the internet, and just kind of paying to increase the tensions between the conservatives and, say, the far, far left. And this is something that's being done behind the lines. But he specifically uses the word conservative, which, in a nutshell, that's your Christian.
But why? Why is all this happening, in your opinion? What's the reason this is happening?
Spiritual.
Okay.
It all boils down to, it's part of Satan's agenda. He doesn't like humanity, and he wants to bring as many people to hell with him, if you will, as he can.
So the book of Revelation, Matthew 24, all of this is playing out for real. This is it right here. We're living it. Okay? I'm making The Last Evangelist a TV series, but this is The Last Evangelist. This is for real. Everything that we're experiencing. Let me ask you a question. Okay, in the TV series Last Evangelist, and by the way, if you guys want to go check out Last Evangelist, go to lastevangelist.com and sign the newsletter, please. Here's the thing. In episode 2, people have to take the chip. We call it the insertion, to buy or sell. We talked about this, and there's some things I want to talk about in your show that I'm not going to talk about right here. I want to say for the first time. But can this really, I know the Bible talks about it, but how can this really happen? And is it happening now?
The mark of the beast?
The mark of the beast.
Well, the system already exists. The technology is there. I mean, we already have it in our credit cards, debit cards. It's the RFID. It's part of medical. A lot of people have already been putting chips in their hands, of all things, that the Bible references your hand or your forehead will be the options. And medical-wise, you can Google it online, medical implants for, you know, RFID chips, and you'll get a ton of stuff. And so the technology there, they're kind of dumbing down the people, getting the people ready to accept something at that level. And I believe that when they actually go and say, okay, well, we're going to introduce this, but it's going to be in the name of preventing or safety. You won't get thievery with this. People won't be able to hack it. It's more secure. It's for your safety. And we don't need cash. And they want to eliminate cash and bring it all to the system. And they're already feeding us this anti-cashless society through the Bilderberg groups, who's had meetings on this, through, you know, globally. And you go to your local store, there are some stores that won't even accept cash anymore.
Right, exactly. And that's how, with the mark of the beast, it will play in the chip to buy and sell. You scan, maybe, and because they don't want your money. Why don't they want cash? Well, with cash, they can't track you. But if you've got that chip, boom, they can track who you are, where you go, what you're all about. Okay? Last thing I want to talk about. When Jesus walked the face of the earth, did he point his finger toward the political people, or did he point his finger toward the religious people?
The religious.
The religious. How much of this progression toward losing our freedom, toward the end time, does the religious system have to do with this, as opposed to the Hollywood system or the political system?
I think a lot, because God, you know, focuses. He wants His people, you know, to follow Him, to do what He's called them to do. And a lot of times there are a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. And so a lot of infiltration in the church, or even confused people who follow those wolves thinking they're doing the right thing.
Right.
And so I think there is going to be more corruption in the church than ever before. Yep. The closer that we get to the period spoken of in the book of Revelation, which your series, is going to be all about. So excited. So it'll be good. But the closer we get to that, the more the church is going to fall from the faith.
Right, exactly. And so for you guys out there that don't go to church, or maybe you do go to church and you just kind of go every Sunday and you go, well, you know, if I go to church every Sunday, God's going to like me enough where I can make it into heaven. It doesn't work that way. Many are called and few are chosen. Right now we're in a funnel. As time goes on, you're going to look around and see less people with you, because if you stand for the truth, there's going to be less people standing for the truth. So I want you to think about that. I want you to pray about that. Lisa, thank you for being with me today.
Well, thank you again for having me on.
And welcome to Hollywood, by the way.
Thanks.